I'm Sharon. Welcome to my Music Theory tuition series where I work with you step by step through the ABRSM Discovering Music Theory grades. I'll work through every single exercise and explain everything you need to know. You can access information about the books I have available to help you on my website. Go to sharonbill.com. For advert-free and longer lessons, you can become a patron at patreon.com/SharonBill. If you can give me a like, that would be super, and please do subscribe to my channel to stay updated. You can support this channel by buying me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/SharonBill. Continuing with the topic of the scale, we're now going to look at it in a little bit more detail, looking at what's regarded as the degrees of the scale, the technical term for describing each step of the scale. And so if we look at the scale, we know we've got steps 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. And if you visualize that on a piano keyboard, going from C, we can see that each step is the next note up. And we're going to find a way of describing which step of the scale we're referring to. Because as we move into new keys where we start on different notes, we don't want to be saying just individual letter names because that will change. The first step of the scale, in this case, is C, but in another case, it will be a different letter. So we need to find a way of describing the steps of the scale. And so step 1, the first note of your scale, which is your home note as it were, is tonic. That's the technical name for the first step of the scale. The root of that word comes from tone key. It's like our home note, and that is the first step of the scale. We count that as note 1. Now that might seem really obvious at the moment, but it's very easy to forget that when we start describing the next degrees of the scale and the space between those degrees. So we have the first step or the first degree, the second degree, third degree, fourth degree, fifth degree, sixth degree, seventh degree. And the 8th degree of the scale is the same as the first, just an octave higher. So we've reverted back to our tonic. We've arrived home again. That's our home note, our tone key, our tonic. So we could say 8th, or you can also say octave, 8VE for shorthand. So we're always starting with 1. Now remember that each of these, if you listen to a scale, if you play it and sing it, some of these steps are closer than others. Let's just look at that just out of interest. We can see that C and D is a full step, whereas E to F is a closer step. It's only a half step, a semitone. And so when you're singing that or when you're playing it, listen to how some of those steps are slightly bigger than others. We'll look at that in more detail later, but just as out of interest, when you're singing it, you will really feel that closeness compared to here. They're not all equally spaced apart. And so moving on to exercise 2, we're now going to be asked to name the degree of the scale. And we're counting from the first, we always count note 1, and then we're going to count up to the interval, and then we're going to have to write the note that's required. And so here we can see that note F is the 4th, just glancing back, 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's very easy when we're looking at this bit. You could even, if you found it helpful, just sketch the letter names. And so we can see that F is the 4th. However, it would be very easy to get confused if you forgot to count note 1 as 1 and just went 1, 2, 3 and missed counting number 1. So that's the weak spot that you could get caught out with. So just remember to always count 1. Count from 1, including this tonic. So I'll have a go at exercise 2B just as a final illustration, and then perhaps you can have a go on your own. Then you can pause the video, try it yourself, and then come back into the video once you've had a go and we can try it together. So let's work through this one together. So we need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's our 6th degree or 6th step. Now here we have a letter A, and we can double check that A is indeed the 6th, so we know that we're correct. The only way you could go wrong is if you forget to count 1 and then just go straight on 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you're going to be a step out. So have a go of those and then we'll go through them together. I'm hoping you've had a go of those, so let's try this together. We're in the bass clef, starting on C in the bass clef. So if that is note 1, note 2 is next door to that, space line, C, D. And we can double check that. We can see that D is the 2nd degree of the scale, the 2nd step of the scale. Still in the bass clef, we now need a 7th. So if we count up from C, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, making sure we count every line and space. That takes us to B, and we can be sure that that's correct because C is the 8th, the octave, and so 1 down from C is B from 8 to 7, and we can triple check by seeing that that is the case. B is the 7th. Moving on. So our tonic in the treble clef, here's C, we want a 5th, so we count 1. The tonic is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Line, space, line, space, line. And as you get used to doing this, you can kind of skip and think, well, 1, 3, 5, because we know we're hopping over these in between steps. But just to be doubly sure, just step it out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's G. And we can double check G is the 5th, that's correct. And finally, we're back into the bass clef. Here's our C, we need to get a 3rd, so 1 is the space, 2 is the line, 3 is the space, and so there's our 3rd. We have C, D, E, and indeed that's correct, E is a 3rd. So that's that exercise completed, and that's the degrees of the scale explained. I hope this is helpful to your studies. Please do like and subscribe to stay updated. If you'd like to support this channel, you can buy me a coffee, and for advert-free lessons, you can become a patron. Do visit my website where you'll find many resources available to help you. Visit sharonbill.com. Thanks for watching. Bye.